Hello and welcome to another episode of LGR Play. As always, I'm Mark Hamer, and today I'm joined by my good friend Mark Chazzee Reay. Hello.
Hello. It's good to be here.
So, we've been playing video games.
We have.
Specifically, we've been playing Injustice 2.
Yes.
Which is probably unfairly to call it the video game, the fighting game that's good for people who are crap at fighting games.
Yes, the fighting game that basically for noobs. Like me. People who don't play fighting games.
Yeah, we both are. I will put my hands up and say I am terrible at fighting games. I love them. I'll try to play fighting games, even the ones that are supposed to be easy to get into, like Street Fighter 5. Didn't happen.
No.
But see, Injustice 2, I get.
That's what they say. They say Street Fighter, it's the easiest Street Fighter to get into. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not at all. Well, I do not have the arms of an octopus that can do a million different moves, these complicated moves.
Yeah, I don't like, and I'm in my, I'm a 30-something guy that cannot remember that many complicated inputs.
Give me 5 combos, like that maximum. That's it.
Yeah, let me button bash.
That's it.
Pull off the base. That's why I love Smash so much. But yeah, anyway, Injustice 2. Quite a lot of pedigree here from NetherRealm Studios, who are headed up by Ed Boon, who was, of course, is the creator of Mortal Kombat, and headed up Midway, one of the greatest video game companies ever, in terms of not just home video games but arcade machines as well. Midway were amazing. Finally went busts. Well, disappeared in 2009, I think.
Yeah,
they finally went under.
Yep.
And from the ashes of that came NetherRealm Studios, under the wing of Warner Brothers Interactive. And this is they've had 2 Mortal Kombat games, 2 or 3 Mortal Kombat games, and the 2 Injustice games.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of Injustice: Gods Among Us because it came out free on PS Plus at some point, and really liked it, but didn't play much of it. And then picked up Injustice 2 and have played the shit out of it. I really like this game.
I was going to say, as you can probably tell from the fact that we're creating a video on this, that we both absolutely adore this game. As 2 people who, self-confessed, I'm not the biggest fan of fighting games. I've never really understood them, and haven't really had the skills, and have been a little bit kind of intimidated by them, I suppose. But this game has really drawn me in like no other fighting game, I think, has ever done. And it's largely thanks to with the Mortal Kombat games that Ed Boon had created before this, he kind of injected this air of fun, and there's always a little bit of a kind of cheeky side to this game, that it just keeps you hooked, keeps you interested, and there's just enough in the mechanics and the modes that other fighting games just don't do the things that this game does. Injustice, the original, kind of showed the promise, and this is just built on that, tenfold. I mean,
it does some things quite differently to a lot of other fighting games. Specifically, if you're going to compare it to the Capcom style, or the Street Fighter Capcom style fighting game, where you've got a set health bar, and it's first to the best of 3. So first to 2, whatever, really. This time you just got your characters have 2 layers of a health bar.
Yeah.
And it's a brief transition when a player loses the first layer of the health bar, and it just keeps the whole thing a lot smoother.
But also it lends a level of spectacle. That this whole game can be summed up by spectacle. It's trying to make every game feel like an Evo match, even though it's you and your friend just smashing the buttons and not looking at the screen. It's just all about fun and spectacle for me.
It's like if Michael Bay had made a fighting game.
That's it.
Because it is basically it's just ridiculous from start to finish. Most of the characters' moves are ridiculous because they're superheroes. They're all basically superheroes. But then you've got one of the interesting mechanics is the transition mechanic, where if you manage to pull off a particularly, it's like holding back and heavy punch. Is it?
That's it. Heavy punch. Yeah.
Yeah, you can charge up an attack, and if it connects on an enemy and they've got their back to
either left or right of the ends of the stage.
Yeah. then there'll be this epic transition where they're basically smashed through the wall, and then a bunch of stuff will happen. Like in one of the stages that's set in Arkham, you get smashed through a wall and then land in an elevator, and the elevator falls through the floor, and then you fall into the canal, and Killer Croc's there, and then like you'll end up back in another area of the stage. If we're talking about fighting mechanics, we've got to talk about the special moves.
That's it. Yeah, that's the only thing that anyone's ever interested in a fighting game, and that is it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and they are varying levels of interest and spectacle, but all of them, none of them disappoint. I'd say there's not one where you go, oh, is that it? You know, they are of a high level, but some of them are absolutely insane. I mean, like our particular favourite when we were playing was the Green Lantern, and he's just completely over the top. Turns into a big green mech and destroys people with the head of the mech. You know, and then shoots them with a gun. But there's this lovely little moment in that where just as you're about to land a killing blow, you hear the character you're about to hit just go no in this really kind of upset and like sort of weak and overran way. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely little touches like that all the way through the game. There's these lovely little moments that, like you say, with the transitions, you're not expecting it, and you wind up a big punch, and then suddenly you're punched through a wall, and you're in a completely different stage, or you're using the background environment. You know, you're hitting R1, and then transitioning someone off the back of an environment for a hit, and comboing off that, and there's just lovely little moments in it that all the way along. Just fun or silly or like spectacular without having to put too much effort in. And it's like we were saying about the actual fighting mechanics. Mm-hmm. There's not that many inputs that you have to pull off to get to get into or out of a combo. It's great.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed straight away when I was playing it, because like trying to play like a Capcom fighting game like Marvel vs. Capcom or Street Fighter, it's like you have to be. It doesn't. I don't care like how accessible they say the games are. You have to be very pinpoint to be able to pull off combos. Like the button inputs have got to be done at exactly the right rhythm, the right spacing between them, in order to be able to pull off these combos. Whereas like a moron like me can like competently juggle another player in Injustice 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
By guessing when to input, like it's a little bit more generous.
Yeah, that's it. The windows are, like you say, very generous. I mean, sometimes they are. I mean, as they've got better as Street Fighter and those kind of games have gone on, they're not quite as tight. But this just feels like the windows are wide enough that you can get a feel from, and like you say, you can mash your way into something sometimes by not by accident, but like you want to pull it off, but. You've hit the button a bit too late and it still gives it to you, so it's generous. But it reminds me a lot of Tekken in some kind of ways, when like I used to play Tekken 2 back in the day, and everything was a forward, back and square, or they're not insane moves to pull off. It's not like a quarter circle into a something else. It is more like you say, the heavy, like hold down, heavy punch, charge, get the guy in the air and then dash forward, and a couple of a triangle and circle, and that will juggle enough to make me feel like, oh wow, I've actually I've picked up a combo there, or I feel like I'm actually remembering, I'll use that next time. And it's not me having to precisely make moves that I'm never going to make because I'm a 40-year-old man who's not got the time to dedicate to playing Street Fighter every day, or Injustice every day.
You don't need to remember ridiculous combos to be able to, or input combinations to be able to pull off the super moves. It's just 2 buttons.
That's it.
You just press 2 buttons at the same time.
Both the triggers.
Yeah. Throwing mechanics are, it's just another 2 buttons.
Yep.
And a direction. That's it. Just 2 punches, 2 kicks. Well, no, not even that. 2 punches, 1 kick, and then circle is your sort of like, every character's sort of got like a sort of burn ability on a cooldown. It's super simple, but it's super simple to get into. But having watched some higher level play, there is a definite like
Oh,
there's
there
a
are
very
definitely
high skill ceiling.
tiers of depth on this as
Yeah.
well. Like from our tier is like the bottom tier of kind of, I've done a combo, to some people who are just juggling for days, and
Yep.
because of the generosity of the windows on some of the inputs and stuff, it can look like sort of ballet at sometimes.
Which is why I'll never really. I'm not interested at all in venturing online in this. I have a couple of times and I've been humiliated. But that's another thing that distinguishes this from other fighting games is the huge wealth of things there are to do offline.
That's it.
There's like the Mother Eye or Brother Eye, whatever it's called. So like basically like Crisis on Infinite Worlds, where it will create scenarios that differ wildly from what happens in the main plot, and you fight through a bunch of enemies in a particular sequence to play out a particular story or whatever, and you get rewarded with these loot boxes that give you cosmetic items for your characters that ostensibly give you a bonus when you're fighting against the AI, but only work as in a cosmetic sense when you're fighting against other players.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fighting game with an RPG system built in.
Yeah. Like a Diablo style loot system. There's layers. There's different quality levels of loot, and like some of the combinations, the costumes you can come out with are amazing. And then, of course, there's the campaign. I don't know. I never played through the campaign in the first Injustice. So the setup for Injustice 2 is a little bit like, I don't fully understand what's going on here. I think I ended up reading the Wikipedia article. But basically, it's Brainiac invading Earth, but set against a sort of schism.
A civil war between
DC
characters.
And it's based. It's a video game that does that storyline better than Batman v Superman or any of those films. I've got to say, ever has.
I was very impressed with the story. I played a little bit of the story mode in Injustice 1, and it was it was perfunctory. It worked, and it is unusual. It's one of the high points of this series is that if you think about Street Fighter and other games like that, normally you're presented with an illustration and two voice actors talking over them, and maybe the illustration changes to the characters move ever so slightly, but they really haven't put the effort in any way, shape or form. I mean, some of the stories are absolutely ludicrous. I mean, look at the whole Tekken pantheon. It's just an appalling mess. But with this, it actually looks like someone has taken the time to write a decent sci-fi-esque story, Sci-Fi Channel, I should say, esque story, and executed on it with a level of production that you just don't see in fighting games. Yeah, and it is engaging, and you do want to see the next scene, and that you do want to kind of beat, I don't know, like Gorilla Grodd, because you want to see what the next part of the story is all about. And I've never played a fighting game that makes me want to play through the story and drive through the story to see the next scene. Yeah, and I think that's really commendable for this game, and hopefully, like, long may it continue. Because
the fighting games that have had a storyline, it's sort of like, and the cutscene is just like freeze frame, and then the storyline's rubbish. But like the storyline in this is not only is it like very, very faithful to, or from what I understand, it's very faithful to a lot of the characters. I mean, my knowledge of the DC character universe is not as great as, say, the Marvel side. There were some characters in here, especially ones that came up in the DLC.
Blue Beetle. Who is Blue Beetle?
What is Blue Beetle?
Yeah, what is Blue Beetle? I mean, we're basically the two worst people to be talking about this game, because we don't really play fighting games and we don't know nothing about comics.
Yeah, well, we know the big ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Superman and Batman and
the others.
My personal favourite in it, the Flash. I really like the Flash in this game.
He's great in this game.
And his special move is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the DLC characters are like Atom. I was like, never heard about him. And then I played as him. I was like, oh, right, okay. He's basically just Ant-Man with a different name. There's a lot of characters that has kind of had like an equivalent Marvel version, so there was some hooks in it there, but I didn't know anything about their story.
But you never lose anything. You never lose your way with them. They're just surface level enough that you can go, oh yeah, that's Ant-Man, and he does this. But also you care enough about him that when he gets his little part of the story, that you do genuinely care and you are genuinely engaged with it.
Yep. And they threw my boy Hellboy in as well in the DLC, and I'm rubbish with him, but like I don't care. I keep fighting with him because I bloody love Hellboy. The characters' special moves, everything that happens in the storyline, everything about it just seems to have this love for. It show this the developers have this love for the source material. Yeah, it's not cynical at all, and if you compare the care that's gone into everything about this game, not just like the quality of the fighting, but like the quality of the cutscenes and the animation. Some of the facial animations are almost uncanny. Yeah. And you compare that to the travesty that was Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and it's just a real shame that that's how Marvel characters get treated, and DC
well, honestly, I'm
gets
not being funny, but even Street Fighter characters, Street Fighter 5, and they're almost complete lack of a story mode that they added in later. You know, it's there is no respect for this kind of way of creating a fighting game, and Injustice have gone, no, we're going to hang our hat on this, and it's completely commendable because it's what's drawn me in as someone who doesn't play fighting games.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the fighting game community's opinion is of, like, for the pro fighting game community's opinion of Injustice 2 is, or the Injustice games in general. I think I've seen footage of it being played at Evo, but I'm not sure whether that was just kind of like it's there, like Smash Brothers is there.
It's one of those. It's one of those games, like with the new Dragon Ball Z game as well. That's kind of starting to get a little bit of traction, but obviously it's not going to get as much traction as your bigger names.
Because it's not Capcom fighting game or Blaze Blue or King of Fighters or Guilty Gear or whatever, the ones that like the bigger boys play. But from the various fighting games that I've dipped my toes in over the years, Injustice 2 is definitely a massive package. And there's just a ridiculous amount of things to do in it without ever having to stray online, which... as anyone who's tried to play fighting games who isn't very good at them will know is a terrifying prospect, because online is full of bullies who are really, really good at these games and will make you cry. And yeah, it's just there's just so much to do in it, even if you don't dabble in the DLC. But the DLC characters are quite fun. There's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Hellboy, and Raiden and Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, and a few other characters who I have no idea who they are. But they were quite fun to play as. It's kind of made me want to delve a little bit more into the DC universe and find a little bit more out about these characters, because some of the story arcs that they have in the campaign are interesting enough for me to be like, okay, I want to check out this character a bit more. Yeah,
because DC has always been, I've always been a bit of a Marvel guy, and because it's bright and brash and kind of, well, very cartoony and camp.
Yeah. Marvel's always been like fun and camp, and DC's always been like dark, super gritty.
Yeah. Exactly, but this straddles that line. This is it's a really good bridging point. I'd say it's not actually that dark. It's not that dark, but it's also quite campy as well.
There's a lot of like heavy story elements in there. There's a lot of like quite dark subject matter.
But then anything to do with the Scarecrow is just wow.
Yeah,
or the Joker for that matter. And
but then like Harley Quinn and the Flash and Green Lantern and characters like that. There's enough levity. And Green Arrow. Yeah, there's enough like levity amongst those characters to kind of like take the edge off the heaviness. So yeah, it's a bloody good game.
Yeah, it's really well balanced. When I say it's well balanced, I don't mean just from the mechanics. I mean just as an overall package. It's a really well balanced game, and it's one that more people should be picking up. And now we're seeing it on discounts and stuff. I really do hope that more people pick it up, just to run through the single player and just get a feel for it, because it is it's wonderful. I absolutely adore it, and this comes from someone who, has picked up most fighting games. I've been on a bit of a quest to try and get into fighting games and kind of understand it, because I've never really understood it, the mentality of it. And through playing this, I'm starting to get what it feels like to be able to pull off a combo or be able to kind of dominate even if it's just an AI character on medium difficulty. You know, I'm getting that feel for, oh wow, right, this is why people enjoy these types of games. So it's a really solid jumping off point. And if anyone said to me, right, I really want to try a fighting game, what's the one for me? It definitely have to be this.
Yeah, if you're going to recommend like a traditional style fighting game rather than
Smash or something like that.
Yeah, Smash or Dive Kick or Nidhogg or something like that, where it's like a completely different take on the fighting game genre. If you're going to if I was going to recommend a traditional style fighting game to anyone who was interested in getting into the genre, this would be the stepping off point for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great game. It's on Windows, Xbox One, and PS4, and there's like a companion app where you can kind of play a stripped down version of it on iOS and Android. And it's regularly on sale and available dirt cheap. I'm pretty sure I've seen it pop up in almost every PS4 sale.
Yeah, I mean, I picked it up. I picked up a box copy for £15.
Yeah,
so it's always going on deals and on sale somewhere.
Yeah, and it's well worth it. There's a lot of game there, and I mean, if you were a DC fan, then yeah, it's a no-brainer. Right, well, thanks for joining me today, Chazzee.
No worries, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It was a pleasure. As always, you can check out the LGR podcasts over on iTunes and Podbean. You can check out our website, which is lapsedgamer.com, and you can find us on Twitter at lapsedgamer. And if you fancy jumping on an episode of this with us, then send us over an email to lapsedgamerradio@gmail.com or send us a Twitter. If you like this video, got any comments or thoughts on Injustice 2, then pop them down below, and give us a like and a subscribe. That's what YouTubers say, right?
That's it.
Yeah, they love likes and subscribes.
Likes and subscribes.
Smash that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you on the next episode of LGR Play. Goodbye.
Bye.